Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Coming at you a day earlier, recording Tuesday night for a Wednesday delivery. You guys are probably listening to this, watching this on Valentine's Day. You're probably on a date right now with your old lady. She's chatting away, and you're just got like the phone in the corner, just like, oh yeah, that your coworker is a bitch. Yeah, totally. No. You get what you want. Be great.
Yeah, the one that I always use is like, damn, that's crazy. or as my chick calls it, Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Well,
no,
she's
with an M.
Oh.
Valentine's. Yeah.
So she's pronouncing it Spanish where the V is a bus sound, and then thinking that it's like times, because it makes more sense to say times.
Yeah, Valentine's Day.
It's like
she gets so angry when I tease her.
Well, it's how for like the first 25 years of my life, I thought it was called old timers disease, not Alzheimer's.
Same thing.
It's like it's for old timers. It's like, yeah, old timers get this disease. It's called old timers. It just makes
sense. Like daylight savings.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's daylight saving.
It's only one saving. You're saving a year, an hour.
It's a savings account. It's a saving.
So the $1 million question: did you make it through the Super Bowl awake? Because it was a longer game. No. Impossible.
The first quarter, I passed out. I've knocked out for a good, probably till like right before halftime.
Yeah.
But I in the middle of the first quarter, my mind some bullshit. Like nodded off. To be fair, I had a lot of shrimp.
I don't know how that's a
potatoes.
That is an excuse. I don't know if it's a good excuse, but I guess it is an excuse.
Shrimp, potatoes, and rice and sausage. Oof, I was full.
I don't know if the shrimp is like what makes you sleepy. It reminds me of that Family Guy line where Peter's telling the dude, like, don't buy a used car. You can't do it. My cousin bought a used car. 10 years later, herpes. Because, they're so explicitly related to each other.
I mean, everyone I know who drives a used car has herpes.
I didn't fall asleep, but I had people over, which means I wasn't driving, which means I had no reason to be responsible whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. So I didn't black out, but I grayed out the whole second half. I do remember the last play of the game. I do remember this touchdown that won it. But yeah, it got hazy there. That's how you do a Super Bowl when it's Niners Chiefs as a Raiders fan. You just get a bottle of 80 proof in you and eat your body weight in sorrow.
You just kind of like, if watching that game was a marathon, probably like 3 miles in, you were just doing the marathon shuffle. You're just kind of like you were doing it, but you weren't really doing it.
I was there the whole time. Yeah,
but you weren't really there.
The engine's running, but no one's behind the wheel.
Yeah. I think
what movie is that from?
Yeah,
just in the comments. The engine's running, but your wife just said, yeah, she thinks Ray's coming. The engine's running, but no one's behind the wheel. So Antonio Pierce went on the Pivot podcast, Ryan Clark and Company. It's worth your time. It's about an hour long. We'll put the link down there for you, so if I remember to do
it.
Yeah,
you know where.
Right down there. But the biggest thing I took from it was the quarterback conversation. So I edited out the actual question to make sure it was short, but Ryan Clark kind of put it as like, wow, you're really in a pickle at quarterback. Like, oh man, like you're not really in a great position to get a quarterback. You're at number 13, which, unless there's aren't going to be real quality guys, on paper, real quality guys falling, Jane Daniels and those guys aren't going to fall down to 13. To which Antonio Pierce replied with this.
The wild card is the quarterback. What are we going to do? Well, we got to put a plan together. There's quarterbacks there. There's ways to get it. Everybody has a price. There's always a price. There's always something that people are willing, like, ooh, you giving me that for this? You can create a little doubt there, a little like interest as far as if they want to make that move. Well, what if it's not the draft? All right, well, you got to go through free agency. Let's go worst case scenario, which is off what you're going off of. We're with Aidan O'Connell. Won 5 games with him. What happens if we give this kid a whole offseason like we're giving the head coach an opportunity to grow and learn? Because he played his ass off the last 5 games.
Absolutely did.
He played better than a lot of guys that got drafted in rounds 1, 2, and 3.
A lot to unpack in those 41 seconds, I feel. in just that very short period of time. What was your biggest takeaway?
Like what I talked about last week when I pulled out from his clip when AP was saying he did what we asked him to do. And just the confidence in his voice when he's saying that is we put the reins on him because we didn't want him to expose himself because he didn't get that training camp. He didn't get that work. He didn't get that personal attention the entire year. He was kind of thrust into there. He had an OC that wasn't really an OC. So
a head coach that wasn't really a head coach.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I will say that.
Well, I mean, Josh McDaniels.
I think internally, I think the Raiders are a lot more comfortable with Aidan O'Connell if that's what ends up happening moving forward. And I don't know that a rookie's going to beat him out. I don't get that sense that even if we draft a rookie in the first round, I don't know that he's going to be able to beat out Aidan O'Connell right away. I just think there's a lot more confidence in Aidan O'Connell, at least for the next season or the start of next season, than a lot of other people out there. And they would know the best.
He's you can tell Antonio Pierce is extremely confident when he says something like, because he used the exact verbiage. This wasn't Ryan Clark. This wasn't how the question was poised. Antonio Pierce is like, all right, think worst case scenario, we start Aidan O'Connell. And to think that that's how he's pitching it, whereas like even worst case scenario, here's all the reasons why I'm comfortable with it. And so Antonio Pierce feels very, very confident in kind of everything and very optimistic in everything. And I'm wondering if he's like kind of laying the groundwork. Damage control is the wrong word, but if he's like, all right, we're just going to roll with Farva and there'll be a chunk of Rader Nation extremely pissed. You and me both. Like, as much as we love Farva, it's like, dude, get more. Like, it's quarterback. Like, you got to, like, you can't just be like, all right, well, he's already here. Might as well just, he's already in the building. Why don't we bring someone else in? That's too much work. So it feels like he's laying the groundwork for, like, I'm making quotes, damage control if he's just like, screw it, we're going to roll with Farva.
It's possible. But honestly, like AP went full $1 million man, dude. Everyone's got a price for the $1 million man. He went full $1 million man. Everyone's got a price. Yeah, but are you willing to pay that price? Yeah. Right? Everyone has a price, it's for sure, but are you willing to pay it? There are guys, I've been saying this since before the last year's draft. I said, don't move up. I told them, don't move up if you're not comfortable, if you're not fully ready. I also said that CJ Stroud was my favorite quarterback last season, but I said there are 5 or 6 quarterbacks just as good as the quarterbacks coming out of college. Not forget about what CJ Stroud did during the season, but coming out of college, there are 5 or 6 quarterbacks that are just as good or better than CJ Stroud college-wise coming out. And there's a lot of guys out there that we can get, and I wouldn't be like heartbroken if we ended up getting like, I actually started watching film recently, but like a Spencer Rattler in the 3rd round. Like, I wouldn't be mad at that because if you take a look at them side by side, Spencer Rattler is like the poor man's version of Caleb Williams. It's like the same size, similar. He just not quite doesn't have that quite as dynamic an arm, but it's still really good.
Counterpoint.
Not quite as mobile.
7 times the name. Spencer Rattler. That just sounds like a Raider.
A great name,
Spencer
right?
Rattler. Like Jake the Snake and Rattler.
Not as mobile. He's elusive, but not that as. He's right there. I wouldn't be mad at him in a 3rd round pick. Am I saying that he's as good a prospect as Caleb Williams? No, I'm not saying that at all. Yeah. But if you get him in the 3rd round and you end up getting like that stud freaking tackle out of Oregon State, that I can't even pronounce his name. Even if it was in front of me, I wouldn't be able to pronounce it. Okay. If you get something like that, maybe we get a DB in the 2nd, whatever, like shore up some positions that you always want to shore up. It's not a bad look, man. Not a bad look.
So that was the other thing. It's funny. Like, I feel like he sounded kind of like what I've been saying about value. He kind of sounded like that. He's like, hey, you never know what could be out there. You never really know what the deal could be. You throw out a couple feelers. very different than like when Mayock was talking about it after he was fired, where it's like, if you've got your guy, you go after him, right? Like if you know he's the guy, like then it doesn't matter what the price is because he's so successful. And like in imagination land where you know Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or whoever is going to be a Hall of Famer, then yeah, it's if you know Jaden Daniels is a Hall of Famer, 10 first rounders are worth it.
Yeah, I'll give you my whole draft for him. It would be worth it.
Right? It'd be worth it, but you don't. And the odds are first round quarterbacks normally don't hit. And so I feel like he's thinking in like value terms as opposed to, yeah, we're grabbing our guy and we're going all in. That's what I heard. But also that's what I want. So I'm wondering if I'm just hearing what I want to hear.
I don't think you're wrong, RJ. What I think he's kind of in between where you are and where you think I am, right? I always say going rate, but you go for it. Maybe you pay a little bit more, but not a ton more.
Yeah.
But if it's the guy that you want. Because like I tweeted it earlier today. You scouted your own team. You scouted the free agents out there. You scouted the draft class this year. You scouted the draft class next year. If this is the guy that you want, be aggressive and go for him. If that's the guy that you want.
Yeah.
The issue that we've had for a lot of years here is we haven't had a real GM for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I mean, since what, McKenzie? Really? Ever since then, it was Gruden, it was Mayock, and then we have Ziegler. These are guys that people want to get over on, right? They're not like the relationship building Telesco, who's got relationships all around the league, and they know, okay, we're not going to be able to fleece this guy. He's been around, he's been doing it for too long. So we're going to get a good, fair deal, and he's good to work with. He's a fair negotiator, right? If we can do it, I say go ahead and do it. We have a lot of pieces in place. We didn't get much from our first round pick last year. We didn't get much from our second round pick last year, to be honest with you. We didn't get much from our third round pick last year. Almost nothing. So it's not like it's impossible to win if you don't have those picks.
Yeah.
You just need to be very smart around them. And if you end up getting a quarterback for those picks, it's going to make a lot of things a lot easier for you. The thing is
on paper, those picks should have more value because Telesco has a better track record, right? So I think like as Raider fans, we always use that example. It's like, well, where's our 5 picks now? It's like, well, it was Mayock and Gruden. Like, I'm falling in love with this guy, right? Like, it's complete. You can't. Yes, it was the Raiders, but there's a different decision maker now, so you can't view it in those terms. Again, a lot to unpack, and I want to get to the quarterbacks, but I want to get to Antonio Pierce specifically because I'm still getting a read on him when he speaks publicly. I'm still getting a read on him. And this is a really, like, football players, coaches, they love Ryan Clark. And I love the pivot because they're very comfortable talking with these guys. So I feel like he's going to be honest somewhere. It's going to be there. When John Gruden talked, he was, like, honest to a fault. Like, it's literally whatever his emotion is coming out of his mouth, you know? Josh McDaniels was just like, I'm going to tell you as little as possible. Here's the standard operating procedure.
I want to talk, but I'm not going to say anything.
The mouse rolling, but there's nothing really processing. Antonio Pierce, I'm still getting a read on if what comes out of his mouth is what he's really saying, what he's really thinking, or if he's talking to his team. When he hypes up Farva, when he hypes up Aidan O'Connell every time, Farva's hearing it, and he's got to love it, right? You got to love your coach that is in your corner that much. Is he saying that because that's the best thing to say to get the best out of Aidan O'Connell? Or is he saying that because it's truly true to his heart? He's like, I will roll with this 4th round, 2nd year player whose feet are in cement next year because I believe he'll get us to win. I know. Now I'm not just saying that so he feels confident, but I actually believe it. I'm still trying to get a read on Antonio Pierce when he talks that way. Have you gotten a better read yet than I have?
Yeah, I got a better read than that.
Okay.
Just because you have to understand something. He was a captain of the defense, okay? He was a leader of that defense when he played. He's used to doing interviews. He's used to doing press conferences. He wasn't for like some just shit dick franchise. Like the Giants are a very respected franchise, right? And it's a tough media town in New York, okay? So I don't see him saying anything that he doesn't believe. But if you notice, he said he didn't say anything that you can't refute. Mm. Okay, what did he say? Well, if our worst case scenario is Aidan O'Connell, we won 5 games with him last year. Is that true? Yes. At the end of the year, he was playing better than a lot of the guys that went in the first round. Well, not C.J. Stroud. Who else went in the first round that was playing?
Most of them weren't playing.
No, well, yeah, freaking Richardson got hurt.
Yep.
But what the hell? I even forgot his name now. Home dude, Bryce Young. Yep. He was playing like shit. Aiden O'Connell was playing better than Bryce Young. So nothing he's saying is not true. Mm-hmm. So he's choosing his words wisely, but you can tell he does believe it because what he's saying is factual. Mm-hmm. What he's saying is not feeling. What he's saying is fact. It comes across as feeling, but it's facts. So he is talking to the team. He is talking to Aiden O'Connell. He is talking to the fan base. He's talking to the coaches. He's talking to everyone and everything he says. Is he measured? Yes. Does it come across as authentic? Yes. But it's not feeling. It's fact.
It's but again, does that make you think he's more willing, like he's overly willing to roll with Favre next season? Or is what he's saying because he actually is down to start Favre next season, or he's just down to be like, this is what Favre should hear, and my job as a coach is not to give good interviews. My job as a coach is to get the most out of my players. Where do you think? That's what I'm wondering, is what is the motivation for him to say what he's saying? Again, you're right. Like, he's speaking facts. Like, he's not saying anything that's like, oh, you're full of shit, AB.
I think what he's doing is, I feel his belief is, if we have to start Aiden O'Connell, I'm cool with it. I don't think that's his first choice, but if they do have to, for whatever reason, the guy that gets in free agency gets hurt, the rookie's just not good enough yet, or whatever. If we have to start with Aiden O'Connell, I'm perfectly fine because we won 5 games with him last year. He got better as the season went along. He didn't have a training camp. He didn't have any type of there's a lot of things going against him that we talked about already.
Yeah.
You put all that squared away, day one, ready to rock. I have confidence in his ability from what I've seen in him to be able to get the job done to the level that's going to be able to take us to victories.
He sounds like a guy that's basically saying, I'm going to let Tom Telesco do his job. That's kind of what I hear out of him is, yeah, we can trade. Like, why are we in a terrible situation? Like, we can trade up, or we can get a free agent, or we can roll with our second-year player that played last season. He sounds like, I'm gonna let Telesco do his job, and I'll make it work. Whatever he ends up doing.
We're in a pretty nice spot if all the quarterbacks, if the top 3 quarterbacks are gone, right? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't take any other quarterback in the first round in the top 3. Okay.
So who would be? What's the best quarterback that's probably gonna that would hypothetically fall to 13?
The best quarterback that would fall probably Jaden Daniels.
No, he's not falling to 13.
No, I'm saying you're saying who's the best one that would?
Yeah.
Out of the 3 or out of all of them?
No. I mean every single quarterback.
Oh,
how many quarterbacks are getting drafted? Right. The top 3 are going in the first 4 picks. And then after that, Penix or Nick's going to be on the board?
I would say Penix would be the best one probably the best one available there.
So you think there'll be 9 picks without a quarterback from 5 to 13?
Yeah, there's 2 really good tackles, right? There's 3 really good defensive linemen. Mm-hmm. There's 3 really, really good receivers. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's already almost 10 players right there. I mean, we're talking about really good players here.
Yeah.
Now
so that's if quarterback hungry teams can resist. You know what I mean?
The only quarterback hungry team outside of the top 3 is Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Honestly, that's the only team that I can see that would in the top 10. Really jump up. Mm-hmm. Let's pull this. Let's pull this shit up. What's this? You got it up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because honestly, I think that.
All right. Bears either traded or picking somebody.
We're not talking about the top 3. We're not talking about them. Arizona has their guy. The Chargers have their guy.
Giants might. Titans,
The
no.
Giants might, but I think the Giants are more comfortable with Daniel Jones and his skill set than the guys coming in for what they have to pay to get him.
Well, I think Penix or Knicks would fall to 6.
Oh yeah, they would, but I don't know that the Giants feel like that's a substantial upgrade to Daniel Jones. They've seen Daniel Jones go out there and win playoff games.
This is the other part, though. We're not just going against not just the Giants pick. How many of the other 31 teams would potentially trade up to the Giants to try to get Knicks or Penix? I think a decent amount, right?
I mean, if you start throwing trades in there, that's too much. As far as this goes, the needy teams, the quarterback needy team in the top 10 is the Falcons, outside the top 3. So from 4 to 10 is the Falcons. Then the next one, depending on what happens in Minnesota. 11, 12, the 2 right before us, who knows what's going to happen with Russ. But if we wanted to move up, the spot for us to move up is 6.
Yeah.
That's the spot for us to move up if there's a player available that gets past, let's say, New England at 3. Or we can just go trade with New England.
I think Tom Telesco has the toughest job of any GM this offseason. Absolute toughest job. Because we don't have our quarterback, but we have a good team that is a quarterback away from doing something special. And we're at 13. Like, he is in, like, this is where he's going to have to earn his money right away in the position that he's in. Like, it is because there's teams in a worse position, right? With less draft picks and, less money. Like, there's the Broncos, but no one expects anything from the Broncos. They were terrible, right? There's all kinds of teams in situations with, they're either in great situations, don't need to trade that much, or they're terrible and no one's expecting them to do much. The Raiders at 13, with this roster, this cap space, these draft picks, this selection in the first round, where we're at right now, brand new coach. I think Telesco has the toughest job this offseason of any GM in all of football, because there is expectations and there's enough ammunition where it's like you need to make it work and win. And the expectations are just high enough. He's in a pickle, man.
Hear me out on this, because I finally started my my tape watching. I watched a lot of the Senior Bowl practices and stuff, and I'm watching a lot of tape. And if things play out the way I think they might play out, I think we should trade back in the first round. Hear me out. Okay, we just count to 13. Okay, 3 of the top quarterbacks gone. 2 top tackles are gone. 2 top corners are gone. 2 top edge rushers are gone. All right, that's 3 more left till us. Okay, there's the receiver, and we already said the receivers. 1, 2, 3 receivers. So those are the top players available at the top positions available in the draft. You're not going to get any of the top players in the top positions that are available in the draft. If what I think is going to happen is going to happen. If that happens and someone wants to get their guy at 13, you just trade back. I think it's smart for us to do that, because we can still get an impact player that's not going to, because we're not going to get the top 1 or 2 players at the premium positions. Quarterback, edge rusher, receiver, tackle, corner. Those are the premium positions in the NFL. Those are the highest paid positions in the NFL. Out of those 5 positions, at 13, 12 of those guys are gone, and those are the top 1 or 2 or 3 at that position. If we're sitting there and it goes the way I think it's going to go, right? So who are the top 3 quarterbacks, right? We have Caleb, we have Daniels, and we have May, all right? We got that dude from Notre Dame and that dude from, what's that guy's from fucking Penn State? The tackle. Okay, the 2 tackles, okay? You have Marvin Harrison Jr., you have Malik Neighbors, and you have Roma Dunez. Okay, those are the 3 receivers. You have what the fuck is that guy's name? Wiggins, and God, I draw a blank with names. The guy from Alabama, Kool-Aid. Okay, so there's 10 players right there, and then the edge rushers. the guy from Florida State, the guy from Alabama, and then the defensive tackle from Illinois. Those are the top guys at that position, and that's 12 players already gone. And then, so at 13, if everything goes the way it's supposed to go, you're like, okay, well, I could get another guy. If I'm not going to get the top 1 or 2 guy at this position, why am I just going to get a guy just because I'm here? Let me try to trade back, and I'll still get a good guy at a premium position. It just makes a lot of sense. If we're not able to trade up, we should trade back.
Well, it's all about flexibility, right? It's like you never know what's going to happen. Like there could be a run at quarterback, right? Like there could be like
Possibly,
Knicks and right. People are trading.
I've been hearing a lot of
Knicks,
nonsense about JJ McCarthy, dude. Like what?
That's my point. Is like that is where you make your money as a drafter. I've heard it. I've said it 1,000 times, and I'm sticking by it because the math backs me up. It is really is a crapshoot in the draft. It really is a giant crapshoot. The way you win is by maximizing as many picks as possible and reading the value in the room, right? If there's a run at quarterbacks and quarterback needy teams get desperate and start throwing multiple first round picks for JJ McCarthy, you get the fuck out of there. You're like, like, dude, go start throwing the bank at random quarterbacks. We out. We're not playing that game, right? Reverse situation. Jaden Daniels falls to 6, right? Or whatever. You know, all these people are desperate for wide receivers and tackles. You're just like, oh shit, Jaden Daniels is there at 10. Okay, let's make that move. That's the 2 big skills of the draft. Getting as many picks as possible. It's not a sniper, it's a shotgun. And 2, reading the value as it happens in real time. That's going to be the skill set. There's a run at quarterback, we get out of the room. We're hoping there's a run at wide receiver because we don't need to be drafting high wide receivers, right? We want to get those guys off there because we're not picking one, right? That's what we're looking for, is reading the room as it plays out. That's what Telesco needs to be able to do.
All right. So if what I said plays out, who behind us would want to jump up? New Orleans could move up from 14 to 13. Mm-hmm. New Orleans, the Seahawks, the Rams. The
Seahawks sticking with. I feel like they're sticking with Geno. No,
I think the shines kind of come off of Geno. I think they kind of saw what he was. The Rams could move up.
Rams could.
The Saints, the Rams, the Steelers could move up. Yeah. Those are the ones right there. Those are the guys right there.
Striking distance.
So you only move back a couple of picks because the last one would be the Rams at 19. Mm. Well, yeah, because if you move up from 19 to 6, you'll probably get number 19 and either a 2 and then maybe a 4 next year or something like. You're going to get another premium pick this year if you do that. And at 19, you'll get the 3rd tackle on the board, the 3rd offensive tackle on the board, which is still a really good player, or even the 4th, either the guy from Oregon State or the guy from Alabama, JC.
Or you'll get the 3rd best corner on the board, 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah, and it's still a really good player. Still a really good player, right? Yeah. And then you get another 2nd round pick. It just makes sense because I started doing the math. And this is the rough part at 12-ish. Once you start getting to 12 to like 19, 20, it's really tough because you're not in a position to like move up easily, but you're not in a position where you can just let things fall to you.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I can get this same guy at 25. I don't have to take him here. I want to get out.
Telesco needs to make sure he has his coffee that morning. Like I want Telesco doing lines of blow that morning because I want his mind like he's got to be in real time firing, man. Like you can't build a roadmap that you're sticking to that too early. Like it's just not the draft for that. You're not in a position to be like, oh, I'm gonna do this. We're gonna stay the course. It's like no.
He needs to be hitting the rail off of some stripper's lower lip, man. I'm telling you.
And she needs to be on the phone,
and not this one.
The GM at Tampa Bay. Right, like everyone needs to be on figuring out what's going on. Because if we get out of the first round without a quarterback, okay, let's say we get out of the first round without a quarterback. Are you wanting to? Because It's weird. Do we develop like a 4th round guy when we've already got our developmental guy on the team? You know what I mean? Like, is it like, all right, as a 3rd or 4th round quarterback, what we want to do when we already have Aidan O'Connell? That's the tricky question.
Well,
because you kind of have 2 of the same guys.
No, not necessarily, because Aidan O'Connell has his limitations. And if you're noticing that those limitations are hindering you from doing what you would theoretically want to do and opening your whole offense, then you have to get another guy. Because then you have to, okay, so can we get this guy to Aidan O'Connell's level of what he can do, but he also does more? And it just makes sense, because you know that Aidan O'Connell isn't what you are looking for in a quarterback, because he does have deficiencies. So you're always going to need to replenish a guy. You're always going to need to find another guy until you have the guy that you're comfortable with fully.
I think we get. I think it's also all dependent on who we get in free agency. Like, what veteran quarterback are we getting? Like, are we getting after somebody that's gonna be like, hey, this guy could really be our starter, or is it all right? We just have a veteran presence in the room. We don't expect a whole bunch from him, but we need a dude who can, like, who's old enough to rent a car. Well, Favre's old as shit for a rookie, but you know what I mean, right? You need a guy with some guy that's been in the league for a handful of years that can help these guys along. Lot to follow. So I guess do the Raiders get like half of a Lombardi trophy because we're the reason the Chiefs won the Super Bowl? Do we get like something like that? Some sort of like a third of a Lombardi to put in a trophy room? So we have 3 1/3. Naked Gun 33 1/3.
Oh boy, it's so upsetting.
Andy Reid gave us credit for them getting the dub.
You know what, dude? I think that's just shade, bro. I think he's just throwing that sneaky shade. He's really smart about that.
You think so?
I mean, I don't think not.
Here's what he had to say. This is what he said to NBC Sports. I texted him, Andy Reid, to Antonio Pierce. I just said, hey, beautiful facility, first of all, and I appreciate you kicking our tail because you taught us a lesson. You get complacent in this business. The margin between winning and losing is tiny. You better step up. There's a time and a place for these players that have been here before. You know what it takes. If you're the veteran that's dropping the ball, or you're the veteran getting the penalties, you better figure it out. Figure it out quick. The season's going to go down. Gave the assist.
Yeah.
Ass whooping.
Yeah. I think it's Andy Reid's not a bad guy, dude. He's not a bad guy. Mm-hmm. And I think that he was pretty genuine when he said that. Yeah. For him to reach out to AP. And I think, honestly, he did that to motivate too. Like, hey man, thanks for kicking our ass. Like, we needed it. It kind of gives to that, coaches. It's not personal with the coach. With most coaches, there's some of them it is.
Yeah.
But most of them it's not. It's like you're just coworkers, and it's like you run a sales team and I run a sales team. It's like, okay, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And he sees
you're the adults in the room.
Yeah, maybe he sees something in AP where he knows with the turnaround. And people who have it see it in other people, right? So if he sees what he thinks he sees in AP, give him that little extra jump, that little extra nudge. Anybody's not going to be around forever. Okay.
I would love to know what Antonio Pierce's response to that text was. And I hope it was something like, we're going to beat you twice as bad next season.
We're going to hang 2 on you next year.
That's what I imagine it being in my brain. Another guy that had a reaction to the Raiders. You tweeted this out. Maxx Crosby reaction to Chiefs game-winning touchdown. Just stone-faced. I imagine that's what like a serial killer looks like when he's found his new victim. That look right there on Maxx Crosby's face.
That I tweeted it out. We are witnessing the super villain origin right here. Mm-hmm. Like when you saw like the Joker movie, like how did the Joker become the Joker, right? Like, well, all this stuff happened, and this is like you see that, you see like the Green Goblin when you watch Spider-Man or whatever. Like you see the origin of like the super villain. If you're on the Raiders, right, next season, you better be prepared to not have Maxx Crosby just hint that you should do extra work, or just mention that you should get to the facility by 6 o'clock every day. You
Yeah.
better be prepared to get in there and be ready to work and be ready to give everything you have every single day. You need to make sure that, as Maxx Crosby needs to make sure that everyone on that team is just as committed and just as like maniacal about winning, because everything, like I put in there, everything from today until the next Super Bowl, everything that they do has to revolve around them being in that position next year.
I can just imagine some like rookie trying to run off the field early, like practice is over and everyone's kind of like adding their extra work and he's running off. And then Maxx just gives him that look that we're looking at right now. And that rookie just like stops in his tracks and just like slowly starts like walking back to the field.
It honestly, that's the next step.
One of those stern dad looks that you like, you know what you need to do. And Maxx just gives it to everybody.
Honestly, I don't understand why anybody who's on the Raiders, like if I'm like a healthy Tyree Wilson, I'm like, yo, Maxx, let's do this. I want to be on what you're on. If you're, anybody really, on that, especially on that defense, on the defensive line, how are you playing every single freaking play, every single game? Like, how are you playing literally 96% of the snaps?
With your knee destroyed for
and your broke and
a
freaking hand that needs to be fixed. How are you doing all this? And playing, not just doing it, but playing at a super high level, And this is not like Cal Ripken in like the last couple seasons, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like a legit freaking all-pro player. How are you doing this? Well, this is what I do every day. Okay, well, I'm going to do the same thing. That's what winners do. Winners find what the other winners are doing, and they match it and try to make it better. That's what winners do. And if I'm looking for teammates, I'm looking for guys like that.
If you could just weaponize a look like Maxx Crosby, you're doing
that
well.
look. Put that look back up there, man. That look is. That's
my my mother-in-law,
because that freaking face.
So my wife's grandpa was a cop, Huntington Beach police detective, and so I remember hearing stories of my mother-in-law telling me like her dad didn't yell at her, didn't spank her. It was just like he would just give a look, and she's like, I'd immediately be in tears, just because he was just an alpha cop, knew what he was, you knew what you were in for. That's Maxx. Maxx gives you that look and you're on that practice facility. You think you're slinking off early? Get out of here. Get out of here.
Nope, for sure.
So there's any position that the Raiders really don't need big help on. It's pass catcher. Where, every team can use more weapons, but there's one position like, well, I think we're okay. Let's not devote all our resources to that. Let's do something else, right? But that didn't stop the hypotheses and the potential from going. Brandon Aiyuk just lost a Super Bowl with the 49ers. Mr. Do Everything, Mr. Swiss Army knife of offense. Instagram storied, don't forget what got you there, eye emoji, because of course NFL players can't just say what they think. They have to be weirdly cryptic and diva-y, because that's who they are. Brandon Aiyuk's girlfriend, a little bit more in the face. It might be the last time we step foot at Levi's because we might not be here next season. Of course, it's always good news when the girlfriend starts talking about free agency and where their man's going to go. And then this one, which was interesting. Brandon Aiyuk's best friend on Instagram. This is the exact reason why we're leaving San Francisco. Thank you, 49ers, for drafting my brother. We are forever grateful. B.A. Brandon Aiyuk to Vegas, pirate flag. Does Brandon Aiyuk want to be a Raider?
Doesn't sound like he doesn't want to. It doesn't want to be a Raider.
I'll take him.
I'll take him. He's fucking good.
He's amazing, and obviously that would be insane. Like, imagine throwing the ball to Devontae Adams Brandon Aiyuk, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker. Hope maybe Josh Jacobs out of the backfield. Like, Jesus God. But if I'm Brandon Aiyuk, like if I'm any wide receiver, are you begging to get the ball thrown to you by Barva? Like, is Aidan O'Connell really the guy that you're just like, oh man, I need that guy throwing passes to me? I'm very curious why he chose Las Vegas.
Maybe because he was in Vegas.
Right?
He liked the facilities.
Right?
You know.
He's like, oh man, I really loved the homemade cookies in the rec room.
Every single person that, and I'm talking like ex-players who are like now for like the NFL Network or whatever, but it's their first time really spending a lot of time at Allegiant Stadium. The first thing they say is like, oh man, this place is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Every single person says it.
Practice facilities, the actual Allegiant Stadium, offices, they love it there, right? Take a quick look. So he's going to be he'll be a 5th round rookie, or he's on his fifth season as the rookie, right? The 5th year rookie deal, right? So he's looking at about $14 million cap hit next season.
Cool.
I mean, that's pennies for how good he is, but you're also you're loading up a room that's already loaded. I mean, are we going 4 wide every play if we got Tucker, Jacoby, Devontae, and Aiyuk?
Well, Tucker's not going to play every play. It's going to be Jacoby, Aiyuk, and Devontae, and then Tucker's going to be sprinkled in. So then Jacoby can go back to the slot like he was most of the time, where he did his best work.
That would be a hell of a wide receiver room, dude. My God.
All those guys are.
Then you'd have quarterbacks like climbing over their mom to be our quarterback. You know what I mean? You're like, I get to throw to who now? I get to the how many like Pro Bowl / potential Hall of Fame / game-changing wide receivers? Please.
I know we're talking Brandon Aiyuk right now, okay, but I've been doing like just reviewing old games. Oh, man, Jacoby Myers is freaking good, dude.
Yeah,
he's pretty damn good. And it's not just because Davante Adams is on the opposite side of him, because he does it when Davante Adams is in the game, when he's not in the game. Yeah, he's good.
He knows how to get open, man. He knows how to get open. Good attitude, right? Like he's all
more athletic than you think. Mm-hmm. He's good, man. We thank you, friggin' Ziegler, for that one.
Was that the best free agent move by Zieg?
Oof.
Gotta be, right?
I think so, man.
What was the best move by Dave Ziegler? Any move? It's got to be that one, right? Devontae coming over was a no-brainer. Like you or I could have done that.
Devontae coming over, yeah, that was pretty much being done already.
It wasn't a move there, right? It was just
the Maxx extension was like again
going rate, right? You paid what he was worth and stayed.
Epps played pretty good. The Jack Jones pickup was really good. He immediately became our number 1 corner.
Yep.
And I think
that was a little more AP, right? AP was like, because he said straight up, like, if he doesn't work out, you can kick me off. Like,
yeah. Well, also, I mean, and in a corresponding move, like they got rid of Marcus Peters, and they brought in Marcus Peters is so bad, dude.
It was a 2-for-1.
I was watching the tape, right?
Addition by subtraction.
So I was watching the tape, and they were playing this little like this switch game, like a cover 2, but Merrick came down and played the zone of where the corner normally would, and he switched with Marcus Peters. Mm-hmm. Marcus Peters, it was like 3rd and 8, and what you want to set that trap is you don't want to be too far behind the sticks because you want to make the window. You want there to be a window, but you want it to be tight enough where you can go and make the play. Marcus Peters was 7 yards behind the first down marker when the pass was completed.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, that defeats the entire purpose of doing that switch and giving that pocket. You want him to throw there, but you want him to throw there ahead of the sticks. It was.
He's just like, I don't want to run too much. I'm gonna.
I don't want him to run past me, so I'm just gonna get like, whoa, bro. Come on, man.
I just don't want to get beat. Man. That's all. So I feel like one of the with this whole like with the rookie quarterbacks, the draft quarterbacks, free agent quarterbacks, one of the first dominoes to fall might be Justin Fields. Obviously, with the Bears holding the first overall pick and having a starting quarterback, whether you think he's good or not, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Where he goes and how, I think it will probably be the first domino to fall in what happens with quarterback free agency and drafting this season. So obviously, if the Bears trade him, they're clearly using that first overall pick on a quarterback. And there's reports saying that they might keep Fields and draft a quarterback. There's reports saying that they're trading away. There's reports that he's keeping. There's misinformation everywhere, so I'm not believing any of it until something happens. The odds came out, and again, when we do these odds, these are gambling websites that put up betting odds you actually can't bet. It's just for fun purposes.
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing here. We're doing fun purposes. They took all the odds of who's going to be the quarterback. Steelers were the highest odds. Favorites, minus 125. Chicago Bears keeping him plus 200. Falcons plus 600. Pats plus 650. Broncos, Commanders, and Raiders all plus 1,200. There's a minute there where it felt like the Raiders were kind of maybe number one-ish in the clubhouse to acquire his services for, second rounder or whatever they were asking for. Now they're way, way back at plus 1,200. What I would love to see the Bears keep him, trade away that first pick, and then just have more quarterbacks in that draft potentially. I would love me some Justin Fields for cheap. I think for a second rounder, we disagree on this. I think for a second rounder, it's absolute no-brainer. 2-year, like $26-ish million deal for a guy that might start, a dynamic athlete, get him out of a cesspool, get him in a good situation, see what happens. I would love that. But I kind of want to be in the quarterback sweepstakes for this rookie class more. I would much, much rather, if something gives us like a 3% chance better to land one of the really good quarterbacks, I'd prefer that.
Yeah, I would too. And for the reasons that I talked about last week, you get the advantages of having a young quarterback on a rookie contract. You really don't get that advantage now. It is a 2-year, $28 million deal, but it's $2 million this year and it's 26 next year. So you lose all the advantage of having a young quarterback on a rookie deal. You only get 1 year of that. Plus, you have to give up a draft pick to get him. If I'm going to do that, I want to have 4 years of a really, really nice contract. It just makes more sense, and it's that window that you want for a rookie contract. And if you have a guy that you need to develop anyway, I want more time. I want more time with that deal.
It on paper in a bubble, I still think it's a good deal for a potential starting quarterback for 2 years, 28-ish or whatever. On paper it works. But again, the same thing we're talking about that Antonio Pierce is like, well, he earned it. It's like, no, you're not asking should Antonio Pierce be the head coach. You're saying let's go get the best head coach we can. And if it's AP, great, awesome. Same thing with Justin Fields. It's not, do I want Justin Fields or not? It's, well, what are all of our options? What are all the costs? What are the consequences of those options? Justin Fields in a bubble in the price, I'm down. But if not getting him means we have a better chance of landing a franchise rookie quarterback with all the advantages therein, which you stated, I'm leaning with the latter. You ready to do some what up Windbags?
Why not?
Mac B HD1, thank you so much for being a member. We appreciate you. Soto. We've seen our wide receivers getting hit over the middle most of the season, more so with Jimmy G. I'm just thankful that no one got a hit on them like our Eps did on Justin Jefferson. This is on one of your Soto Second Watch series that you've got going right now where you're reviewing all the games of the season, giving a second watch. He's talking about that hit.
Jimmy G he just loved floating balls up there. He just loved floating balls. And that first game against the Broncos,
that's the curse of a weaker arm too, right? It's not just he can't throw it far, but now you're giving those DBs an extra 0.5 seconds to close the gap and decapitate our very good, very highly paid pass catchers.
Yeah, very expensive pass catcher. There was a throw, the very first one that I talked about against the Broncos. It was a scramble play, and he did have to float the ball over some linebackers that were in front of him, and it was a nice play, but he floated the ball like 4 yards away from the out of bounds line. And it's like, if you're going to do that and you see the safety barreling down on him, throw it towards the sideline so he can catch it and get the hell out of bounds and protect himself. He's 4 yards away and he just had to eat the hit. And Devontae Adams is a stud and he caught the ball, but he did that a couple of times. He freaking strung Hooper out to dry against the Bills a couple times. It was tough. It was tough to watch. It really, you didn't see Favre do that. Mm-hmm. You didn't see Favre hang out his receivers to try like that.
Yeah.
Maybe if he had to just throw a tight crosser across the middle, like, fuck it, man, I got to throw this thing and he's going to get lit up, but whatever, man, this is what we have to do. It wasn't like a scramble play where you're just throwing the ball up there or whatever. And it was tough to watch. A couple of these throws were tough to watch.
Jimmy G just never sets his feet. It's the weirdest, most uncanny. Like, how do you be in the NFL that long, have that many different coaches, like quarterback goes, hey, we're gonna for a month, we're gonna work on planting your feet and delivering a throw. But every time he's just like on his tippy toes. Can't throw power that way. It's so weird. Dakota Buckman, 3140. Rumor has it that Devontae says that Luke Getsy, the new offensive coordinator, is the one who took his game to the next level. DJ Moore had his best year under Luke, and I've heard he is very well respected in the NFL. I want to see him with a quarterback who can read a defense and can consistently throw from the pocket. Also, a good sign is his offense improved a decent amount from year 1 to year 2 of his offense. So we keep talking about Luke Getsy, and everyone is saying how smart he is, how good he is, how great he is. And then you look at the Bears offense, and you're like, it's just not producing. You go below the surface and you look at stats like Tay saying Luke was a big part of it when he was at Green Bay. It is true DJ Moore flourished under Getsy. It's the biggest results aren't there, but there's a lot of underlying positives with Getsy. And I think we're starting to see, like with these reports coming out, why they hired him when they did.
Yeah, and one of the clips in that AP Pivot podcast was he talked about that. He talked about Luke Getsy, and he said he gives his coordinators full reign to do whatever they want to do, as long as it's within the parameters of what they've discussed. Right?
Yep.
So, I mean, what does that tell you? We're still going to run the ball a lot. We're going to be a run-heavy play-action team. We're going to be kind of like a lot of pro sets with like a lot of two-back sets and stuff like that. We're going to do that. But we're also going to have a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. We're going to do a lot of screens, a lot of tight end screens. We're going to do a lot of stuff like that too. We're going to be a good mix of both. But I think that AP does, because he even talked about it in the podcast. He said, you can throw a screen pass and still be physical.
Yeah.
Like you can still, like when you block, you can still be very physical. Like everything we do, everything we call needs to have an edge, and we need to be physical. And that's what he wants. And I know that whoever's, well, it's Luke Getsy now, he's going to kind of formulate a playbook and a scheme around what AP wants. Mm-hmm. And I mean, when he was in that offense, when Getsy was in that offense as a quarterback coach in Green Bay, what were they? A lot of 2-back sets, right? They had Kuhn, they had the 2 running backs. They did a lot of 3 wide receiver sets still. They did a lot of tight ends. They did a lot of screens. So it's like very sim. I foresee us having a very similar style of offense as the Packers had.
Rusty Nail, 8622. Underrated drink, by the way, the Rusty Nail. Thanks for the Office Toby reference. As far as that show goes, we all know that Creed, Stanley, and Kevin did all the heavy lifting. I could not disagree more. Stanley was maybe the least funny guy on The Office. Kevin was hilarious. And Creed had his moments, but they were few and far between. I don't know.
You mean William Charles Schneider?
I mean, look, it was Michael Scott and why am I blanking? And the funniest guy on the
Rainn
show.
Wilson.
Yeah, it was those two guys. It was Michael Scott and Rainn Wilson carrying that show. And why like people love Jim, like, oh my God, Jim is so funny. It's like, no, he's not. He's like, Rainn Wilson would do something absolutely hilarious, and then or like Jim would do something not funny, but it would make Rainn Wilson do something awesome. Like, oh,
And then Jim would do this.
and then Jim would look at the camera and you're like, oh my God, it's so funny. It's like, no, Rainn Wilson's doing all the heavy lifting here. He's the one being funny. Just Jim was just like the point guard. Like, here's the ball, Kobe, you know, and then you do something
Rainn
amazing.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Rewatch
The Office with that in mind. Watch
really
Jim Halpert, and be like, that wasn't funny. The scene was amazing because Michael Scott and Rainn Wilson did something awesome based off of Jim putting his calculator in Jell-O. But was Jim actually funny?
It was the reaction.
Yeah.
But when I put Creed's real name in the show, because Creed wasn't his real. He assumed the name of a guy named Creed.
Yeah.
William Charles Schneider's his real name, and I don't think anyone got it. I was very disappointed.
Wow. That's probably our number one in this household go-to. We're going to bed. Let's put something on TV. I think The Office has been put on more than any other. It's just good enough to enjoy it.
You don't put on Red Shoe Diaries?
No. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's an old Skinamax.
Oh.
No, I think it was Showtime. It was like a David Duchovny. Like David Duchovny was like reading like sexy stories, and it was like little vignettes and it's all softcore shit before we had cell phones with porn on it 24/7.
Yeah, that's opposite. Like the wife and I are trying to go to sleep. We're not trying to get hot and bothered, you know? We've been married too long.
Yeah, right.
You look over we got a 4-year-old, dude. We've been married a long time. We got a 4-year-old. It's like, oh God.
You got that night mask on. I'm not trying to get into that anywhere.
We're on a mission, and it's just to close our eyes. All right, that's it for us. Enjoy your Valentine's Day, fellas. Take care of your wives, girlfriends, and girlfriends. If you got both, they both need that love. And send your mom something as well. Don't forget to call mom and grandma on Valentine's Day. Women in our life, they can be pains in the asses, but goddamn, do they make life better if you're doing it right. Because it's an earlier show, we'll probably get some more stuff done later this week. When's the next Soto second look coming out? Soto?
Probably end of the week.
End of the week? Okay, so we'll keep you abreast of the news, this new series that Soto's doing. Make sure you check it out. He's done 2 already. And until then, knock on wood if you're with me.